Hey crew, it's Pitt, and I'm back, answering the most important question already. Am I the bunghole? Let's dive in and see what today's question is. Am I the bunghole? I told everyone that my brother used escort services before getting married after he joked about my husband that's currently housed in a psych ward. I hold all my comments until after I've read the whole thing. Backstory. My husband of 6 years had a mental down spiral that first started 8 months ago. He never had any apparent mental health problems previously. This popped up out of nowhere. Unbeknownst to me, was a result of some undealt with issues from his upbringing. Luckily, my husband is an amazing provider, so this didn't impact us much financially. It did, however, create an emotional hardship, having watched my husband fall apart while I aimlessly tried helping him. Our young child also does not understand what has happened to her dad. With that being said, mom, sister, and a close friend have been my three rocks through this. My mom especially, since her and my husband developed a tight bond. My brother and his wife live in another state, vacation here every year in January. They didn't know the entire story of what had been happening. I went to my mom's house to pick up her daughter. I had just got back in town from visiting him. My mom wanted to know how were things, his progress, his demeanor, basically everything. As we were discussing, my brother popped in from around the corner. Pretty much our entire family was there, and I told him where my husband was and what had happened, to which he responded, "I always knew he was crazy." I think everyone in the house, including his wife, was dumbfounded. Then he tried deflecting that comment by saying, "Well, he's definitely crazy for marrying you." As if that would make things better. I completely went off. I guess my reflex was to sling dirt. I made a comment along the lines of actual crazy people like him having to pay for escort services because women always ran from him. He looked shocked. I knew. Honestly, I don't even remember how I found out. My sister knew as well, but our parents did not. I ended up leaving with my kid. I later learned his wife didn't know about his old escort life, and apparently she was mortified. My dad was livid with me for divulging such personal detail and causing problems between them. He said I should have let my brother's dark humor joke roll off my shoulders. I was still upset and told my dad it was not my problem. He wasn't transparent before he married her. My brother, on the other hand, ended up sending me practically a kiss-off letter saying I get what I deserve for marrying a mess-up. Obviously, he wasn't joking. I grew up just having to ignore most of his idiotic behavior, but everything we had been through had struck a nerve and I snapped. My dad still won't speak to me. He tells my mom he doesn't care to hear about my husband. My brother, still in town, has requested that I don't come around until he's gone. I'm starting to feel I have to be the bigger person here and apologize. But at the same time, they're not even bothering to cut me some slack. Okay, so that's a whole lot, right? Obviously, there's a little bit of resentment going on between you and your brother. I don't know what the deal is there. But regardless, we have enough of a stigma with men seeking mental help in this country without having to deal with people being a bunghole about it. Your brother was absolutely a bunghole for making that joke. Absolutely. No doubt about it. But you probably were too for popping back with what happened. Like, that wasn't relevant to the situation. Like, it really wasn't. And that was something that you were holding on to so that you could use at the appropriate time. It goes back to the resentment that I was talking about before. Like, there's something else going on there that's already holding some tension between you. Maybe it's because he lives out of state and you think he's not doing what he should. Or maybe it's because you're living too close to home and he thinks that you're doing too much. Or there's always something, right? But it definitely seems like there's some resentment between you and your brother and that it just bubbled to the surface. So y'all need to figure out what's going on with that. Just like your husband is picking the scab and trying to figure out what's going on in his mind. That's what he's doing, seeking help, because that's how you get help, is you pick the scabs and find the pain and you deal with the pain, right? You let it heal healthily by figuring out what the root cause of the problem is. That's what your husband's doing. He's doing it in-house because apparently it's a big problem, and that happens. But you and your brother have a problem too. Now, whether or not y'all get back and reconcile and talk and all of that, that's up to y'all. I always suggest some reconciliation. You absolutely did step out of line, though. Whenever you said that he went with an escort service, like that's crossing a boundary. It is. And you should never attack somebody in that manner. Like, even if you know the dirtiest thing about somebody, that shouldn't be something that you bring out because you're hurt. Just like he never should have made the joke about your husband, you never should have made that. So you do owe him an apology for that, but he absolutely owes you an apology for what he did. And just dismissing mental health is a big problem in this country. Like, specifically, I can speak for this country, but it is across the world. But we too often are like, well, he should just tough through it, or he should just push through it, or he should just whatever. And no, if you need help, you should seek help. You should not be stigmatized because you seek help. It shouldn't even be an issue. I'm glad that he's financially stable enough to be able to do this and not be a hardship. That shouldn't be an issue. We should have better mental health care. It should never get to the point where that becomes necessary. That's part of what I want to do. But you both were a little bit of the bunghole in this situation. He definitely should have never, ever made that joke. That was a horrible joke. Like, I'd have said something if I'd have been there. But I'd have said something about, man, what is wrong with you? And not about, well, when you were 17, you were with a hooker. Or 18 or 19 or whatever age it was. Like, and it could be multiple hookers. I don't care. That's not something that you should bring up. Now, your mom and your dad are obviously not on the same page about your husband. And that's probably got a lot to do with our mentality in this country too. But there needs to be a conversation there too, because apparently your dad doesn't understand what's going on with your husband. Or he's just a bunghole too. That joke's not appropriate. It's not. I don't care. And so he shouldn't be defending the guy who made the joke, even if it's his son. Like he, as the father, should be stepping in to correct the son, regardless of the age, in a, not a overbearing manner where the son's going to get very upset, but instead in a way that's like, hey, that's not cool. I would do that with my son. You can bet your bottom dollar on that one. I would do that with my daughter. I would do that with anybody, actually. But I'm just that dude. But I would suggest apologizing. Like, that's how I would handle the situation. I wouldn't be happy about it, but there's a lot of things I've done in my life that I'm not happy about having to have done. But I am better for having done it. I have forgiven people that have never asked for it. I've forgiven people and they don't know I've done it because they won't talk to me now. But I've forgiven them for things they did to me and won't talk to me about. So you need to forgive, and part of the forgiveness is the apology. If he doesn't take it, oh well, that's on him. You forgive for you. Like, that's something people don't understand, is when you give forgiveness like that, you're not giving forgiveness for them. It helps them. It's something that you should do, and it will help them get closure. But you give forgiveness for yourself so that you don't hold on to whatever that emotion is, anger, resentment, whatever, jealousy. All of that stuff needs to come out of you. And the way that you do that is through forgiveness. And sometimes that includes an apology. All right, we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. I hope I brought a little bit of enlightenment to that. If you like what I'm doing here, let me know. Hit me in the comments down below. If you don't like what I'm doing here, let me know. Hit me in the comments down below. Let me know what you'd like to see. Hit all the bells and whistles. You know what to do. To the crew, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every single minute that you are here with me. I am praying for you every single day. Until next time, I love you. You're perfect, whole, and complete, just the way that you are. This has been Pittstake. Peace.